Welcome to Mindset for Success, a podcast where we unlock the secrets of the mind that propel you towards your goals. Each episode dives into the strategies, habits, and beliefs shared by some of the world's most successful individuals, giving you the tools to transform your thinking and supercharge your success. Join us as we explore how adjusting your mindset can open doors to new possibilities in life and career. Tune in now to start shaping the future you deserve. Emma Weaver is a thought leader in the industry of mental wealth, dedicating over 2 decades to empowering individuals and organizations worldwide to prioritize mental well-being. As the founder of Mental Wealth International, Emma's visionary leadership drives initiatives that foster resilience and growth. With a diverse background spanning entrepreneurship, public speaking, and event curation, Emma has become a respected keynote speaker and MC, captivating audiences across the globe. Her dynamic presence on the TEDx stage, where she has been invited twice, underscores her ability to challenge perceptions and spark crucial conversations about mental health and wellness. As the curator of TEDx Enniskillen, Emma has orchestrated 2 highly successful events, cultivating a community committed to sharing ideas for positive change. Wow, and a massive welcome to Emma Weaver, and what an incredible bio and life that you've had. I met Emma in Ireland, believe it or not, in Enniskillen, and it was just the most amazing experience because there's some stories that Emma will share with you today. But Emma actually curated a whole TEDx for Enniskillen. It was incredible. And thanks to her absolutely beautiful sister, who we connected with, said, "Hey, Kath, come to Ireland if you like," because I was going to be over there and seeing my son, and come and do your TEDx talk because I'd been invited, but COVID came and then they were doing them all online. And for some reason, I decided that I really wanted to do it face to face if we were going to. So I was so privileged to be there and to meet Emma Weaver and to hear her story. And that's why Emma's here today, because she has that mindset for success. And I would love her to share a little bit about that with us now. And why mental wealth, Emma?
So thank you very much. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and I want to honour the fact that we met in Enniskillen and we've remained connected personally and professionally, and building relationships, I believe, is key to showing up authentic and helping your mindset as well. So mental wealth was developed. So my background is I managed mental health services for over 2 decades across the Western Trust here in the north of Ireland, which meant I would have been involved with policy making, shaping the way services were going forward, understanding the trends of mental health issues and challenges that were happening, as well as managing teams. So managing teams to allow them to support the people was the biggest thing for me. But throughout all of those years, there was always gaps, there was always misunderstandings, and you could only take it so far. And I also recognized that sometimes it doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes we can, I'm not saying all the times, overcomplicate things. So mental wealth to me is how we show up consistently on a daily basis, and if not daily, on a regular basis, for ourselves, to allow ourselves to build the resilience. I call it a mental wealth vault, because a lot of people attribute wealth to monetary value, and that's okay. So for me to, I suppose, explain it more or make it a little bit more acceptable, the turn of phrase mental wealth, the idea is it's what we do consistently to deposit into our mental wealth vault. So you're building it, it's the compound effect. So what you're doing to look after your well-being physically, emotionally, mentally, all the time, all builds a better, resilient part of you and gives you the tools to deal with life's challenges, so that on those days you are able to withdraw from the vault when you need it, but never letting it get so low. And that is where the essence of mental wealth come out of. Allowing people to hold space for themselves to achieve well-being, optimum well-being all the time, especially in entrepreneurship, especially in business. If you want to really hit those highs and reach your potential and set those massive goals, you have to be looking after your well-being.
Yeah, you absolutely have to be looking after that well-being. It's interesting because mental wealth, back in 2020, I was working with a client and we did a program for her. And sort of I chose that mental wealth as well, over just saying that mental health. And I think it was because when we are strong in the mind, you actually can build wealth as well, can't you?
100%. And it's our duty to build our mental wealth because it then just attracts abundance everywhere else.
It does attract abundance. And my question then, I guess, is 2 decades ago when you started here, why that area? Did anything happen that made you feel that you needed to be stronger in that area as well?
So there was definitely a couple of life events that had happened. But I'm so grateful that I had nearly almost fallen into mental health at that stage. So I became a mum very young, and I live here in Ireland. And the thought process around that is, well, that's it then. That's it. You know, your life is over. And it was just one of the worst things that could ever happen. And so I had my daughter, me and my daughter and her dad, we all moved out together, and it was a health visitor come in one day and she said to me, "What are you going to do with your life?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I mean, this is it now." And she says, "No, you need to do something." So she signed me up to the local college, which, I mean, of course you can go to college, but the mindset here at the time, I live in a very rural village in Ireland, was you didn't do those things. So it's a little bit of a trailblazer even back then, which probably shocked people that I would dare to go back to college after what I had done, in some people's eyes. So I went back to college, and sometimes, Kath, it's not necessarily about knowing what you want to do or where you're going. It's equally as important to work out what you don't want and what doesn't fit in your life. So I very much honored um the journey going forward of what was happening. And I was put on a placement. And one of the placements was working with children, and that didn't really, considering I had a child, that did not work out very well for me. And the next placement then, would you believe it, was in a mental health support center, and it was in my local community. And it was in that moment of realizing that I knew the people in the room. I knew the people in the room did not realize that they had mental health issues, that they needed extra support, and they were living very well lives in the community and just needed that bit of extra support to maintain themselves. So they were like, they had families, they had jobs and everything. And it was in that moment that I realized I needed to be working in mental health, that it was really, really important to me. And then a huge life event then that happened to me then was my little girl's dad was killed in a motorbike, which absolutely shook our entire world. But thankfully, because I had already started working in the field, I maybe understood feelings and emotions and resilience, like not to the level that I needed to, but it certainly helped along the way, and definitely propelled me forward then to understanding how it is so important to look after our well-being, because you never know. You never know what you're going to be faced with. So continuously looking after your well-being all of the time, personally and professionally, means that you are able to strive to be the best version of yourself.
Wow, Emma, that's amazing. That's an incredible story. How, first of all, one thing happens that's rocked your world and no doubt your families at the time, but led you to going to college, having this placement, building up that mental wealth,
Yeah.
having one of the most horrible things happen, losing our partner and the father of our child. I can't imagine what you went through. Being in that industry had built some of those tools already for you,
Yeah.
but it allowed you to see how important it was for these tools to be able to work. And I've just heard some wonderful news. Let us know what your daughter is doing today.
Oh. So my eldest daughter, she is now a doctor. She's got her doctorate and is graduating now in July, as Dr. Chloe Weaver. So super proud. I mean, the resilience that she's built from a young age, we certainly journeyed it together. I was quite young when this happened as well. We journeyed it together, definitely created that bond. She then also got into psychology, so was able to understand the importance of understanding yourself as well, and becoming the best version of you that you can. So, you know, the word pride doesn't even begin to, you know, to match it. And another prominent thing, you wouldn't believe it, whenever her dad was killed, it was in August 2001, and it was just before September the 11th. So the day I graduated was 3 weeks after he'd been killed, and Chloe was sitting on my knee. So it goes to show you, um, whether personally or professionally, whatever in your life. Now, I am not claiming in any way, shape, or form that Chloe got her doctorate because of this. However, if you lead by example and build your own resilience and find the right tools, it ripples out. You're able to help others as well on the journey. So it's really important.
So important. And before you even said that, my next question was, do you think that she is where she is today because of the strength that she has seen in you and how you have applied this? And I do believe, like you, that you do lead by example. And I don't
Yeah.
think that as a parent, quite often, we could tell the children something, where the mum, they're not going to listen. But when we show them, it's a whole different thing.
And it's not a big conversation we have had, because Chloe is this beautiful, independent, force to be reckoned with female. Like, I mean, she's absolutely amazing. And whilst I took a completely different route in life, Chloe was able to set out her path, knew what she wanted, and she, at this stage, she has achieved everything she has set out to in her life. It's amazing to watch. And considering, I suppose, research or statistically, she shouldn't have, if you were to take in all those
Mm.
norms. But again, I call it a PMA, so positive mental attitude. You can't let your situation or environment define you. You can certainly honor it and grieve and feel the feelings and process different things that happen in your life. However, that does not define you. And now it took years and years. Like, I mean, I couldn't mention his name for about 20 years. I'm not, I obviously went for therapy and worked that out and was able to really deal with it. Like, I mean, can you imagine sitting your 5-year-old daughter down to tell her? Like, it was the hardest thing, one of the hardest things that certainly I have ever had to do. So you have choices. You have choices. And I knew I needed to provide for my daughter. We needed to get ourselves out of maybe the situation that we were in there and then. And I suppose the determination, the goals, your why that we talk about is so important. My why was to at least get the educated to a certain level that I knew I would be able to provide. Um, and honor the sadness and the grief and the situation, but flip it to then the realization that I had shown my best self, and it probably gave me a bit more grit and determination to succeed as well.
Yeah, grit, that's an interesting word, isn't it? And when it does come to success, we do need that grit. And I
Yes.
wrote down what you said before, consistency. It's such an important thing that we consistently get up in the morning, or we consistently have a quote or something up that gets us moving, that keeps us going forward in that direction that we want to go, and yet not overcomplicate things. You said that before. I thought it's so true, because the mind loves to do that, doesn't it? Like the
Absolutely.
alarm goes off, and this morning the alarm went off at 5 o'clock, and I'd been in Canada at 2 the morning before, and it was like, no, don't get up, Kath, stay in bed. And I'm like, no,
And
I
that's
have
what
to get up.
happens.
No,
But
I'm
you got,
getting up
I
because
think You need to get up. Well, it does you good as well, but you are 100% right. Your mind wants to keep you comfortable. It wants to keep you in the familiar. Don't do that. You can't do that. The imposter syndrome comes in, your limiting beliefs that most of the time aren't even yours. You can't do this. Says who? Just because nobody's done it before me doesn't mean I won't be able to do it now. And again, lead by example. But your mind will want you to stay in that lovely, warm, comfortable bed and let's just rest. You've been working so hard lately. And whilst I am definitely an advocate for listening to your body and resting when you need to, but you also need to recognize when you're telling yourself lies or call yourself out on what it is that you're telling yourself, and intentionally set a routine that fits in with your life. So those, not even necessarily routine, maybe those good habits that will get you up in the morning, that you know that when you do, you have the best day, that allow you to show up your best self, to achieve what you're setting out to. It's really important.
Hi, I'm Kath Malloy. I'm an author, speaker, and trainer. And I'm here today just to let you know about the Million Dollar Handshake. So this book came out by Hachette in 2018, and very quickly it made it to the Business Book of the Year in UK for Seven Dials, and Orion Books actually, they published Harry Potter. They picked it up and they bought the international rights. And since then it's been released in different languages. So this is for Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau. This is in Vietnam. A girlfriend walked past the bookshop and she said, "Kath, your book's there." So they bought the international rights as well, and we're so excited because we're going over to work there in 2024 in Vietnam. And of course, we've got the wonderful Australian version that was put out by Hachette Australia and New Zealand. So we react before we speak, and this is one of the biggest problems that we have in business and in life today. And so this book is helping actually work out how we can stop that miscommunication, how we can be more present in the situations, and how we can create more win-wins in our life. We've even got this little tiny Indian version because it's nice and light for the backpacks. So if you would like to create more win-wins in your life, then we would love you to pick up a copy of the Million Dollar Handshake too. Speak soon.
And you mentioned limiting beliefs before. So I'm wondering if you might be able to share one of those with us. Like what was a limiting belief that you had, that when you were able to go to your mind, no, I'm going to do it anyway. Can you remember a time when you had a limiting belief?
Well, there's definitely a couple, and I know I've mentioned one, having my daughter so young, living in a wee town in Ireland. We as in a small town in Ireland, it would have very much been seen that I should have kept quiet and nearly hid myself away. So to go back and educate myself, and to certainly get a job, and then to manage the mental health services across the whole Western Trust. Well, I worked my way up. The limiting belief on a few of those dark, wintry mornings that we have here, and I didn't drive at the time, so I would have had to walk to get the bus, would have been, just stay where you are. Who do you think you are? Sure, nobody's expecting you to succeed anyway, so you're not letting anybody down. See that thought? That's a dangerous thought. Sure, nobody's expecting you to succeed anyway. So the easy thing is just to give up because, well, it was fitting the narrative, but I didn't give up. Now, I had help. I had a lot of, my sister Karen, my family supported me. I didn't do it all by myself. I think they probably seen that kind of fire in my belly. And I wrote about it in one of Karen's books, The Miracle of Intent, about, I set the intention that I had to get educated. Now, I mean, I don't mean way off getting degrees to be able to do different things, but educate myself enough to know, to get us out of the hard times that we were in. So the easier thing would have just been to stay comfortable and no
Mhm.
expectations. But I mean, look at the life we have now.
And you wouldn't have let anyone down. Like you wouldn't have let anyone down if you hadn't, except yourself.
Exactly. And isn't it true that the only person you have to live with in your own mind is yourself? So that's why we need to be setting big goals, being intentional. And the more, and again, it's a compound effect, the more goals we set ourselves, big or small, and you achieve them, you build the confidence to keep going, and more and more and more. And then your life just excels.
It's amazing. You just start to think of something and then next minute it's happening.
Mhm.
And I believe that we do build a courage muscle. Like, I really do believe
Yeah.
that when you do set a goal and it happens, oh, you have the courage now to set another goal. And I do
Mhm.
think it's important at the very beginning that we don't set too big a goal, that we get used to just stretching ourselves, letting it, and then reaching it and seeing that it's achieved. Having that wee celebration, and then we go again. And they do tend to get bigger and bigger and bigger, like TEDx.
I love that you said courage is a muscle, because you're right. Because the more we step out of our comfort zone, start off small, because if you try to go too far, you nearly set yourself up to fail, or just, not achieve what you wanted to. However, if you show up consistently and set small ones, and then the bigger ones become attainable, and then you just become limitless, where you begin to realize your life has completely changed. Like, I've had a few experiences lately, like as you said, TEDx, so I got invited to do 2 TED Talks, and realized this is quite powerful. This is very powerful. There's power behind the story here. There's power behind TED. It's a very integral brand, and they're very values driven. And then to get the license to be able to bring TEDx to Enniskillen, which is a global brand, you can't but not start to think, when you put your mind to it and work hard and have that attitude and that can do, because there was barriers as well. There was a couple of different things that came up, that can do attitude, and just that resilience to keep going. To run an event at that scale here in Fermanagh was huge. And then have people like yourself to travel to it, and just add the credibility behind it, was quite an achievement.
It was a massive achievement. I remember walking in and how beautifully everything was set out. You had everything ready. You had amazing people working with you, a great team, and the stories that were shared from the stage. How did you how did you feel after the event?
Ooh, I definitely am the kind of person where I did sit and take a moment to reflect that what we had just achieved. And you're right, it wasn't just me. I'm a very meticulous planner. I won't go into something half-hearted. It's either going to be done properly or not, and that's why it took months, nearly a year beforehand, to plan it. It probably took me a couple of days before it really set in, because we were still on adrenaline and there was such a buzz around it. And if you don't mind me saying, the event was quite flawless. There was a few hiccups, nothing major. Everybody felt seen, and the audience loved it. So the next day, probably, I was tired, and the day after that, a bit of reflection. I love writing and journaling, so I would have journaled my feelings and my thoughts around it, so that now I can look back and reflect on that as I am potentially embarking on doing it again. But it's really important I think we need to celebrate the small wins, the middle wins, the big wins. So I did. I embraced that feeling of what I had achieved and brought to Enniskillen along with the team.
Yeah, it was really incredible. And to keep the mindset going over that year, to be building it, it's a lot of work, and it is a volunteer work. It actually,
Yes.
I believe what we focus on grows.
Yes.
And so when we are focusing on our volunteer work, then a lot of the times, our business life may drop down a little bit. What we're doing with the family may drop down a little bit while we're focusing on this. So it really is a juggle, isn't it?
Yeah. And do you know what it is, Kath? It's about setting expectations as well, and communicating to other people. So I would have communicated with my family, my son, as I mentioned before we got on this call. I think I even said it the day of TEDx. if Reese hears me mentioning the words TEDx again, I'm not quite sure we'll be speaking for a while. Now, bearing in mind, he was in the front row, loving life. I got him involved. He was part of it. He was one of the volunteers on the day. So it's really important to see that bigger picture as well and bring people on the journey with you, you know, so that people understand what you're doing and see the impact that you're able to create. And you're right. Work did start to subside because I had to give it my all. And there was lots of learnings in that first event. It didn't so much happen in the second. But I have a team, and again, whilst it was the first time for me, I maybe didn't understand how huge the commitment was, and the team were probably sitting thinking, gosh, there's a lot going on here. But communication is key, and understanding. And if you were to say, was there a balance, I would say there is a balance, but it varied on day to day depending on what came up. But it's bringing people on the journey with you, and being able to manage expectations and maintain the business as well, because it's
Wow.
completely voluntary. But do you know what it is, Kath? Whilst it's completely voluntary and the intention is to support people become TEDx speakers and bring, like, a lot of the speakers came on a journey with us. You know, there's some of the ladies, Rosie included, would say it changed her life, sitting down and writing it down and comforted her and helped her heal. And there was another girl, Jane, said the same thing. You can't not host an event like that without outside agencies seeing it, and then they would have contacted me, and probably the ripple effect of that had benefits somewhere along the line, even though that wasn't intentional. So the universe always provides when you're doing the right thing for the right reasons.
It's quite incredible. And I know I met some people over there that we are still in touch, and some feel like some of my besties are in Ireland because of that event as well. So yeah, thank you from me. And so if you're at home listening and there's something that you think that you should do or you haven't done yet, what's the tipping point? What's the thing that actually gets you to from the idea to actually taking that action? What do you think that is, Emma?
Well, I think a lot of things take courage. And I truly believe an idea won't come into your head, or a feeling to pursue something or do something, unless you're capable of it. So you've really got to honor that and go with it and be brave. And building a team around you, or being intentional on who you surround yourself with, is huge. And I talk about that in mental health, whether it's family or work or environment, but it's true in business and your dreams. You need the right people around you that are going to keep you in check, and they're going to say, that's a great idea. Let's go. Let's go. You know, build it and go with the right people. It's very, very important. But on a personal level, we can achieve anything. We actually can achieve anything. And certainly, again, and I'm going to say it again, if it comes into our head, like Mental Health International, and people know this story, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with the idea of Mental Health International. And I always have a wee notepad and a pen beside my bed, and I just started writing. I wrote the whole framework, the concept of it. I had been to the ENE event with Karen and Shelley in Castle. I was helping out. I wasn't necessarily there. And a couple of different people done talks. And 2 weeks later, I had a beautiful job. It was no problem. And I had a lovely job. And 2 weeks later, Mental Health International. So you've got to honor that idea and understand that you're capable of it, and talk to the right people and build out your idea. Build it out.
Well, congratulations on that. And I love that you said we need to honor that, because sometimes you think, where on earth did that idea come from? Like, you know, that you're being tapped on the shoulder with it.
Yes.
And so
And people
it's
don't talk
actually
about that
greater.
enough. Yeah.
Sorry?
People don't talk about that enough. As you say, you're tapped on the shoulder for a reason. You're telling yourself, you can do this. Come on, let's go.
I was tapped on the shoulder in 2020, and I just thought, no, can't do it. It's too hard. Like, that's crazy. Why would I do that? And it was this Leading Ladies Lunches Global. And then, the internet here was really bad, and I've been asked to do podcasts. I said, this drops out too much. We went through Telstra, Vodafone, Optus, everything in Australia. Now we have Starlink. So it has sort of changed everything. But sometimes we say, no, no, no. I could have said yes, 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 and gone somewhere else to do it.
Yeah.
So I do think, and if you don't say yes, it stays with you, because I've had 4 years of it. So finally we're doing it.
Yeah.
But to step into it straight away, I think is what we need to do, to stop making the excuses around why it wouldn't work. What will make it work? What do we need to do? It's an action, isn't it?
And everything is an action. And I mean, don't get so enthralled in the details. We don't need to know the details. You just need to understand what the goal is, what the intent behind it is, and work it out from there. I know a lot of people do say yes and then figure it out. That's okay to a certain degree. It depends on what situation you're in. But say, you know, setting up your own business, setting up a charity even, because I was involved with adult ADHD and so setting up a charity, writing a book, running an event, all starts with an idea and you build it out. But it should be a yes unless there is a really good reason why it would be a no.
Yeah, because you wouldn't be given this idea, this thought, this opportunity. So saying yes and then figuring it out isn't such a bad thing.
No.
And I love to start with the end in mind. What do I want it to look like? How's it going to be? How's it
Yes.
going to make the customer feel, and be able to work back from there? So I don't know what you love to do, but I also love this PMS that you have, this, because, you know, PMS, we sort of relate to that. Positive mental
Attitude, PMA.
PMA. I wrote PMS. I'm like, what's the S for? Service?
Oh, we have that too.
Okay. Sorry about that. Let's rewind. PMA, positive mental attitude. Yeah, how important is that? I think that changes everything. Well, as we're getting ready to close up, I've got, I'm going to roll the dice for you in a moment, but is there anything else that you'd like to share around um, being successful, you know, having that mindset for success?
And genuinely, and I know a lot of people talk about it, it all starts with your daily routine. So it's really important to me to get up early and get my day started before the children get up and all that madness starts. Gratitude is huge. I know people talk about it a lot. That's because it works. Gratitude. And we all need to have goals, unless if we don't, we're just kind of aimlessly going around. And as you achieve something new, don't put stress on yourself, but always be striving. We can always create so many different things. And when I be talking to people, authenticity is key in business and success, showing up your best self as to who you truly are. Because then you can show up your best self, and you know you're bulletproof at that stage when you're being authentic, and that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, creating those habits when we don't want to do something
Yes.
actually is where the change starts to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. So I have a red dice, blue dice in different colored orders, and a white dice. Which
Wow.
color would you like me to roll?
I shall go with red, please.
Why red?
TEDx red.
Speaking of TEDx, I did hear you say number 3. So there you go, anyone.
Yes.
Stay
What's
tuned.
the space?
Oh, you've got number 6. All right.
Should I be
So
nervous?
let's have a look and see what number 6 says. Do you like to wash? No, just kidding. Do visualization techniques help create a mindset for success?
Yes. 100% my business would not be as successful as it is without me being able to visualize it. They say if you can see it and believe it, you can achieve it. But visualization does 2 things for me, and I'm going to let you into something that I do. See, if a negative thought comes into my brain, I visualize, I actually close my eyes and visualize taking it out and throwing it away in the bin. Every time. They are not getting in, they're not staying. They come in, I visualize, and they're gone. So that's to get rid of the negativity that allows me to stay in that positive mental state all the time, because we all get those thoughts. But to visualize your goals, to feel that you've already achieved it before you have, is very, very important for me to believe it. It's a feeling thing. So although you're visualizing it, you need to feel it as well. And I think they're little secrets to success that not everybody gets.
Yeah, wow. And I can visualize things, but sometimes it's hard to actually, you have to feel it. You have to walk in that
Yes.
this has
Yeah.
happened
Yes. And
for it
you
to,
have to it takes practice. You
yeah,
have to practice that and believe it. Otherwise, you're just trying to trick yourself, because our brains will believe what we tell it. So if we're telling ourselves positive things and visualizing those amazing things, our brain will begin to believe it. Equally, if we've got limiting beliefs or, imposter syndrome, or we're telling our brain bad things, that's what it's going to believe as well. So why not visualize and feel all the good things? But it takes practice. It takes
yeah.
practice. It's worth
And
it.
what you were saying about the mind, absolutely, because if the thought isn't kind, it's not helpful,
Yeah.
then it's not nice. Get it out. Like
Needs to go. Yeah.
with me, if I hear something, then I'll just go, "Well, thanks for that, but you can go." And I
Yeah.
generally will replace it with the opposite thought. Because sometimes we have to acknowledge it. Okay, you're trying to protect me now, but that's okay. I don't need that. And imposter syndrome comes from, once again, one of those negative thoughts coming in.
Yeah.
So I love exactly what you said, and I love the feeling. And for those of you that are visual out there, actually seeing yourself pull
Yeah.
that thought out and go, no, thanks, not for me, is something wonderful to leave us with here today, Emma, because I think that changes everything. The way we think changes everything.
Yeah.
So I've just pulled a little belief card as we're ending here today to see what message that we're going to have today left here for us. With love and patience, everything is possible.
Oh,
With love and patience, everything is possible. So leaving you on that note, don't forget to love and be patient and
love
create
it.
that mindset for success. Keep smiling, stay positive. Until next time, speak soon.